Today is Tuesday, May 19, 2020. We're continuing. Now we're doing SOL 6.12. Represent a proportional relationship between two quantities, including those arising from practical situations. Now, the only difference between today and yesterday is that we're doing word problems. So Sean has decided to start a recycling program. He thinks that for every 2 hours he spends picking up recyclables, he should be able to collect 3 bags worth of material. Make a ratio table showing this relationship. So the first thing he's comparing, for every 2 hours he spends picking up recyclables. Okay, so the first one is 2 hours. 2 hours he spends picking up recyclables. He should be able to collect 3 bags worth of material is the recyclables. So bags of recyclables is 3. So your second column is 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. 3 times 2 is 8. Now we know this was the simplified column, so we could just start with a 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you're doing every one, you can either skip count across, or the proper way to do it is to do one column across each way. Always go from the simplified in order to keep it the same as skip counting, to keep it simple. So on problem number 1, it says Delilah says that she can run 15 yards every 3 seconds. These are the two things she's comparing. So first thing we write down is yards. Next thing we write down is seconds. So 15 yards to 3 seconds. So now we can go ahead and make a ratio table showing this relationship. So this can be our times 2, times 3, times 4, times 5. However, this is not simplified. So it'd be much easier to simplify this instead of having a times 5, where we do 15 times 5. So we look at it. We said, what number can we simplify by? And we know the little one goes into the big one. So we're going to divide by the little one, 3. So 15 divided by 3. 15 divided by 3 is 5. 3 divided by 3 is 1. And so this is our simplified. This is our times 1 column, or our single group. So we've got the 3 there. So we can do times 2. This would be times 3 if we went that direction. Times 4 and times 5. So 5 times 2 is 10. 1 times 2 is 2. 5 times 4 is 20. 1 times 4 is 4. 5 times 5 is 25. 1 times 5 is 5. So if you do choose to skip count, make sure you remember that 3 comes over here. So it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. That's why it's much better just to follow from your simplified column to go over each one. On number 2, after working on IXL, Mike realizes that he is finishing 4 problems every 15 minutes. There's our comparison. Problems for every minute. There's 4 problems, so 4 is the first one. 15 is part of the second, so it's 4 to 15. And so we want to look at this and say, can we simplify this? Well, the numbers that go into 4 are 2 and 2 doesn't go into 15. The numbers that go into 15 are 3 times 5, and they don't go into 4. So this is our simplified, or our times 1 column. So here we can do times 2, times 3, times 4, times 5, and since they follow the same order, you can skip count. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 15, 30, 45, 60, 75. And you can double check. 4 times 5 is 20. 15 times 5 is 75. So you double check on that last column to check your work. Philip goes over to his grandmother's house to help with yard work. She tells him that she will pay him $12 for every hour that he works. So this is it, dollars per hour. These are the two things we're comparing. So this is dollars to hours. So $12 for every hour means 1 hour. So this is our simplified, or our times 1. So we can, from that, we can times 2, times 3, times 4, and times 5. This is a unit multiplier because you're comparing an amount to one of something else. As long as one of these is a 1, it's a unit multiplier. So we can 24, 36, 48, 60. Skip count it out, and we can skip count the ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I want to check, make sure I skip counted properly. So 12 times 5 is 60. 1 times 5 is 5, and that's correct. I skip counted. So the answer to number 3, the ratio table, is completed. On number 4, Lillian and her family are driving across the country to see friends and family. After the first 3 hours, she notices that they have traveled 210 miles. Make a ratio table showing this relationship. So she's comparing after hours. She noticed they have traveled 210 miles. So it's 3 hours to 210 miles. So we look at this and say, can we simplify this? And we know that 3 goes into 21. So we know that 3 is going to go into 210. So whether you want to do that, 3 divided by goes into 21 7 times. So whether you want to do it in your head or you want to do it on your calculator, 210 divided by 3 is going to give you 70. And 3 divided by 3 is 1. So before we were saying divided by 3, so 1, you come this way, 1 times 3 is 3, 70 times 3 is 210. So dividing it to get this way, we can multiply it back out from our simplification. That's how we can fill in our ratio table if we're hitting every column. So this is our times 1, or our simplified. We've got times 2, times 3, times 4, and times 5. So 1 times 2 is 2. 70 times 2 is 140. 7 times 2 is 14. So 70 times 2 is 140. Just an extra 0. Now we want to come again from the same column over here. Simplified times 4. 1 times 4 is 4. 70 times 4. 7 times 4 is 28. There's a 0 on there, which would be like a 10 times. So it has an extra 0 at the end. And then the last column, we go 1 times 5 is 5. 7 times 5 is 35. So 70 times 5 is 350. Now I notice 5 and 6 got skipped, but that's okay. We'll just go to the next problem. So Stephen and his friends are eating stacked bags of chips. After 45 minutes, they realize that they have eaten 20 bags of chips. Make a ratio table showing this relationship. So the first thing they're counting is minutes to how many bags of chips. So here we could have minutes, and over here is bags of chips. So remember, we can work down the same way as when we were working across. So after 45 minutes, or minutes is 45, and bags is 20. So we look at these two numbers and say, can we simplify these? Well, they're not both even, but that one ends in 5 and that one ends in 0. So it tells us that we can use 5 as a factor. So 45 divided by 5 is going to give us 9. 20 divided by 5 is going to give us 4. So from here to here, we would times 5, because from here to here, we divided by 5. Let's check our division. 4 times 5 is 20. 9 times 5 is 45. So that's our 5. This would be our 1 or simplified. So then the ones that we need next are 2, 3, and 4. So you can either skip count down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, or you can go across the columns. 9 times 2 is 18. 4 times 2 is 8. 9 times 3 is 27. 4 times 3 is 12. 9 times 4 is, I just went blank, 36. 4 times 4 is 16. And you can count your skip counting. You can check by your skip counting. 4, 8, 12, 16, 9, 18, 27, 36. So you know you have completed the table properly. On number 8, Jason is grading his students' papers. He checks the clock after grading 30 papers and sees that it took him 20 minutes. Make a ratio table showing this relationship. So he was grading for 30 papers and it took him 20 minutes. So the first one is grading how many papers. So this is papers. The second one is 20 minutes. So this is minutes. Minutes is 20, 30 papers. So this is our 30 and 20. We know that can be simplified. They both end in 0, so we know that we can divide by 10. So 30 divided by 10 is 3. 20 divided by 10 is 2. So this is our simplified, or our times 1, because we can't get any lower than 2 and 3. And up here, this would have been times 10 if we went this direction. So now we can do 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can skip count, or we can multiply each row. 3, 6, 9, 12, and then skip counting 2, 2, 4, 6, 8. And then if I want to check it, I would go from here to here. 3 times 4 is 12. 2 times 4 is 8. And you are correct on that one as well. It says Hallie is selling candy for a school fundraiser. It takes her 3 hours to sell her package of 60 lollipops. Make a ratio table showing this relationship. So it took her hours to sell lollipops. So hours is our first one. Lollipops is our second label that we're comparing. 3 hours, 60 lollipops. So we're going to fill in our ratio table. So if we can simplify, we know that 3 can go into 60. So we're going to divide by 3. So from here to here, we divide by 3. 3 times 3 is 1. 60 times 3 is 20. So this is our times 1, or our simplified. So we know if we were using our simplified to expand it from here to here, it would be times 3. So we have 1, we do times 2, times 3, times 4, and times 5. So 1 times 2 is 2. 20 times 2 is 40. 1 times 4 is 4. 20 times 4 is 80. 2 times 4 is 8, so 20 times 4 is 80. And then the last one, 1 times 5 is 5. 2 times 5 is 10, so 20 times 5 is 100. Has an extra 0 there, so we put an extra 0 there. We can check our skip counting, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the last problem for today says a photographer can take 25 students' pictures in 45 minutes. So we're comparing pictures to minutes. It's 25 is how many pictures? 45 is how many minutes? I'm sorry, that should have been one underline on 25. So we look at it and say, can we simplify this? Well, they both end in 5, so we know that we can divide by 5 to come down here. 25 divided by 5 is 5. 45 divided by 5 is 9. 5 to 9. 5 is prime, and it doesn't go into 9, so this is simplified. We cannot reduce it anymore. So we have the 5 here. We've got the times 1 here. So from here, we can do the times 2, times 3, times 4, because the 5's up there. So since it is 2, 3, 4 in order, you can skip count if you like. 5, 10, 15, 20, 9, 18, 27, 36. But we want to check our work. Make sure we skip counted properly. So 5 times 4 is 20. 9 times 4 is 36. So we checked it and it's complete.